Today I'm going to be showing you how to create a vector town from scratch. I did a sketch and we're going to take that sketch and bring it into Illustrator and take you through the whole process of finding inspiration, building a color palette, adding details, and really make the whole illustration pop. I want to show you the whole process and how to use the tools within Illustrator to create a cohesive illustration that's going to work. So jump right in and we're going to get stuck into it. So what we're going to do is going to build out a vector town from scratch. So I've just done a sketch, which I'm going to open up here. So you can see here I've done 3 different variations of some towns, and I'm going to pick one of these and we're going to build it out. So what we're going to do is go to Illustrator and we want to create a new file. So you can create a new file by clicking this button here, or go to File, New. And for the sizing, we're just going to keep it at 920 and 1080p, and then we can leave it on CMYK. And we're going to leave it in a landscape orientation with one artboard, and then we're going to name it Vector Town, and we're just going to press create. Cool. So now we have our artboard and we have our basic color palettes there, and what I'm going to do is go back to my sketch and just going to drag it in here, and I'm just going to blow this up, just holding Shift and Alt, just making it bigger. And you can see how when I did my sketches, I did some lines just for some guides, which is pretty cool. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a clipping mask because I don't want to see the rest of this sketch. So I'm going to press M and just make a box around where my sketch is. And I'm going to select these 2, and then we're going to go to Object in the top left corner and go to Clipping Mask and go Make. So you can see here we've got my sketch. You can see it doesn't have to be detailed because we're going to vectorize it. So I'll just make it a little bit bigger to extend it to the end like that. And cool, and then we have it. And what we're going to do is going to go to our layers panel. So you can see I've got my layers here. You can go to Window Layers to open that up. And what we're going to do is just call it Sketch. Now I'm going to select this mask and just drop the opacity a little bit, so maybe go 70% just to lighten it up. And once we've done this, I'm going to go to my layer panel, and we're going to lock that. So next to it you can see there's an empty space. Click that, it's going to lock that layer. So now we can't do anything on it, and we can focus on creating a new layer by going to the bottom right of the panel and click this little button here, and it's going to make a new layer. And we're going to call it working layer, or call it whatever you want, you know, vector or buildings, whichever you're going to start to work on first. So I'm going to start to work on this, and you can see here the sun and the lighting's on the left side, so you can see most of these shaded in areas is going to help me know where to put the shading. And what we're going to do is we're going to work in a grayscale first, and then we're going to add some color later. So you can see here I'm just going to throw that in the bin there, and then I'll just delete all these as well, and I just want my grayscale. So to delete some swatches, you can just hold Shift, select all the ones you don't want, and just drag it into the little bin, and that will delete it. So you can see I've got my grayscale. I'm going to start to build out each element. I'll start with the right hand side, and you can see most of them are just squares. So if you go to the left hand side, you can see you got your square tools, your rectangle tools, ellipse tools, and all these. So you can always use this. The shortcut key is M. So I'm going to click that and just hold left click and drag. You can see there it's going to create a box. So what we want to do as well is if we go to multiply, or if you just change it to overlay as well, you can see you can work like that, so it's over the sketch. Or what you can do is just use strokes so it doesn't cover the sketch. So you can see that I'm just going to use some strokes, so then later on we can press Shift X and it's going to switch the fill to the stroke. So for now we're going to use it like that, and I'm going to just use a white, and I'm going to hold Alt and Shift and just drag it across. So I'll start to build out all these shapes here, and I'm just going to create a rectangle for the floor, for the ground. We'll make that black. Cool. So I'm just going to go through here using the M rectangle tool and start to build out those shapes. a cool trick is that you can press I for the eyedropper tool and quickly select the other shape, and it's going to copy the same attributes on this shape to that shape there. So that's another cool trick as well. So you want to keep it neat and clean to save you time later on. So it's all about using just simple shapes. You know, that's what I love about Illustrator. You can use simple shapes to illustrate the look you're going for. And remember, it's always key to do some sketches, and it doesn't have to be crazy. It can be really rough, and ultimately it will save you time having to go into Illustrator and, you know, fix it all up and spend more time on that. You can focus more time on the concept. So you can see the strokes are a bit thicker, so I'm just gonna select them all, just bump them up. And because it's white, it might be hard to see, so you know, I might use a bright color. So I'll just use orange, and I'm just gonna plus that. So I just created that swatch there by clicking this button here. Okay, so we've got this main side done, and I'm going to work on the doors and the windows. So the windows are just going to be simple circles, as you can see there, like that. And I'll copy this across to keep the sizing the same. So I'm just holding Alt and Shift and then clicking and dragging, left clicking and dragging. If you don't want it to be horizontal or directly vertical, then don't hold Shift and just hold Alt. I'm just going to copy that. It doesn't have to be all geometrically the same. For this idea, I try to think of like the favelas in Brazil. You know, it's not that symmetrical. It's all like over the place. So for the doors, I'm just going to use a rectangle as well. And if we wanted to round them off, we could select these 2 points on the top. You can select that by pressing A. You get the direct selection tool. You can select these and then drag these in. Make sure you just select these. Just hold Shift, select them both, and you can drag that in, and you can see how it rounds it off. This is a feature in CC. You get this little white circle, and when you just drag that, it rounds off those corners. So we can round it off, but I think I'm just going to leave it just like this. And I want to zoom in there, drag that up. And you can see with my smart guides on, you can see how the purple line, it clicks. So it's connecting. I'm just going to make sure this black layer is locked. Yeah, smart guides, you go to view and go to smart guides there. It's going to help you speed it up. So I'm just going to continue to make this, might make this a bit smaller. I'll create these little extras on the roof here. I'm just using the pen tool by pressing P and then just left clicking to get that little plant. We can also use it to make this chair as well. Just using the pen tool, just like that. And I'll round that off a little bit. Cool. So we've got that one side done. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to color it in the grayscale for now. So I'll select all the spots which will have the most light. So you can see here, these areas of the where it's white is going to be the lightest point. So I'm going to select, I'm just holding Shift and selecting all those. Make sure you're selecting the right shapes. So I'll start with the make sure it's behind. So to bring up the shapes behind, you go to Object, Arrange, and you can see you can send it to the backward all the way by going back once, or send it all the way to the back. So that's what I'm doing, and the shortcut for that is Shift Control left square bracket, and that sent the shapes to the back. And then if you want to bring it up one, you just press Control right square bracket. I'm on a PC, but if you're on a Mac, you just press Command. And then I'll use the eyedropper tool. And if there's some shapes in the way, I'll just lock those by pressing Ctrl 2, and then I'll unlock it later on if it's in the way. And then you can see I'll select these shaded parts, and I'm going to just select a darker shade of gray. And then I'll unlock just like that. And then obviously these doors will be darker, so I'm going to select now another dark shade of gray and press Shift X to turn it into a fill. And you can see you might have to make some minor adjustments by just dragging that down. You see I'm just zooming in. The quick way to zoom in is just hold Alt or Option and just use your mouse wheel. And that's how I'm just zooming in there. And then just gonna move these. Make it smaller. And you can see how that's behind that, which we want. And then once again, I'm just gonna select all these, holding Shift, left click, and we'll go another darker shade. And then we'll press select them and press Shift X. These ones have strokes, so to get rid of those strokes, you see how it's got an orange stroke? You can just press this little button on the left. It's got a red line, click that, and that means it's just gonna turn the stroke off. So cool, we're making progress, and I'm gonna do the same for these. You can see some of these are strokes. Make it darker. This is a fill, so make sure you select the right one. You can just press X to switch to the fill or the stroke, and then that just selects the one you want. Actually might make these darker because that's going to be cool. So we have these houses done, and now we're going to work on the other side. We can potentially copy this and bring it to the other side like this if we want to make it more symmetrical and neat and make it consistent, or we can stick to our sketch and work with that. So I'm going to focus on this other side now, and once again we're just going to do the same. So I'm just going to press Shift X and then just leave it on the strokes for now so we can see what we're doing. And then I'm just going to work my way through these shapes. So whenever you're doing sketches or your pre-concepts, you always want to think in shapes, especially with Illustrator because it's a vector-based program. You always want to be thinking in shapes. And I never worry about, being pinpoint on my shapes because I can always move them around. You can see this one, it's going to be behind the shape, so it doesn't matter if it crosses over because you see it's behind it. So we can, if it looks confusing, that's alright. Bring that. It's okay if some of the shapes are going to be bigger because it's giving the illusion, it's giving some dimension. Also, I'll make that bigger. It's probably also good to work with more layers as well. We're just working on this one layer, but later on, we can sort things out. So also you can note that you can see that I'm editing as I'm going, adjusting shapes, moving around things where I want it. That's the fun about this Illustrator. It's very easy to manipulate the shapes. And then we've got this like little satellite in the back. I'm just going to make a circle. And then we'll cut out those. And we'll just rotate this like that. And then I get the pen tool and click that. Man, we'll just make a box like that. And cool, simple. So once again, I'm just gonna color the buildings in. And I'm just gonna sample these colors from over here. So pressing I for the eyedropper tool and just going across and sampling that. And once I have these colors here, I can just use them. So it's also key to make sure you know which ones are in the background, so you know the colors. I'm just going to join that so that's a shape there. So that's why it's always good to know where your lighting's coming from, because you're going to save time. And I'm just bringing these to the front. Another cool trick as well, if it gets confusing, you can press Command or Control Y, and it's going to go to outline mode. If I zoom out there, you can see it just shows all the outlines and the lines and the paths of each shape. So if it gets tricky, you can find the lines there and select them, and then still use the same commands as bring it to the front. It just makes it easier. So I'll bring that to the front. Oops, it's meant to be white. So you can see I'm just putting that darker to make sure I know that these shadows are different. So cool, so we've finished this off, and now we can start working on the other elements, like the little fountain in the background. So you can see the background is just like shapes, and what we're going to do is make a new layer. So I'm going to go to my layers panel, and I'll just create that and go, we'll call it backdrop, and I'm going to drag this and bring it behind that layer. So what we're going to do is use the pen tool, but we're just going to lock this top layer so we don't touch that. And I'm going to use the pen tool, and I'm just going to holding shift, clicking, I'll just make it orange so you can see. So I'm just going forth and creating that outline to give the illusion that there's, you know, buildings in the back there. And we'll do the same for this part here. And later on it will look better when we have those done. Let's bring that behind there. So it's like it's a flourishing town, you know, it's vibrant. Things are happening. So we'll just leave that in the background, and we'll put that black because that's going to be fully in the background. So you can see they're starting to look nice. And then I can play around with this like that. So you can see that that's already looking cool. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to lock that and turn the eye off, which turns the visibility off that layer. So then we can start focusing on these other elements. So what I'll do, I'll make a new layer and I'll just call it fountain. And we'll work on that. So I'll just select orange and Shift X to put it on the stroke. Press M and we're gonna just build these out. Just gonna duplicate. Always duplicate just to save you time. Boom, and I'll do that again. Another cool trick is that if you select them all and go to the top and you'll see align to selection, what we can do is if you select them and then have that option, you can press this and it's going to align them all together. See, now it's all straight, which is pretty handy. And then for the water, you can just make it as strokes. So what I'll do is do a few points. So I'm just left click and just dragging just like that. So we're just keeping it simple, keeping as less points as possible so we get the best possible stroke and best possible curve as well. You know, there's other ways to do it as well. You can probably make it shapes, which we can do later on. I'll just leave it like that. And some water. Actually, we'll probably leave that. I'm actually going to round off these corners as well. So I'm just going to hold shift and select each point. I press A for the direct selection tool. It's also in the top left corner on your toolbar on the left. You can see there, two different tools. And I'm just going to round it off so you can see that's too round, but we're just going to round that a little bit. So we have our fountain, and now I'm just going to press Shift X and just get the grayscale happening. And you can see it gets lighter as it goes up because the light is hitting it. Or you can even make it look like it's in the background if you want to do it that way. And obviously water is light and it reflects light. And I'll go to my stroke panel and you can just see you can round those off. I'll bring it back. See, it rounds off the caps. So this is a straight cap and this is a round cap. So you can press that button there in the middle. And we can add some more details later on. So we've got that main section. And we'll also put the close on this layer as well. Actually, we'll make it own layer just to make it neat. So we'll put clothesline and I'll leave the fountain layer. And we're going to just work on this bit here. So for this one, I'm not going to do the stroke, but I'm just going to use a shape. So we're going to use a square for that, for the wood. And I'll just copy that across so it's consistent, so it's the same shape. And select those two shapes and selection and just make it like that. See, the guides are super good. And for this line, I'm just going to use the stroke pen tool. So pen tool. See that? Got a nice curve. Control Z. See that creates a nice little line. And then I'm going to use the pen tool for these shapes. So this is just like a cloth. And I'm just going through, slowly dragging. You want to find the most furthest points, and that's how you get the nicest curves. You know, you don't want to keep clicking on every corner. You want to just make it just enough. So you get those nice curves. So I'll just change the color. See, it's on the fill now, so as you can see, it's building out that. It's not pointy enough, so you gotta. And you can see here how the point makes a curve. Maybe if I don't want that curve, I can just left click again, and it's gonna delete the handle. So then I can start off with another straight. So you can see handle. If I click, it gets rid of the handle, and then I can start off as a straight curve again. Because sometimes I don't want it curvy. It's pretty handy. So let's go to some jeans. We've got some socks. You can see you can always refine the sketches, and then it will probably make this a lot easier. This looks like some funky looking socks. And I'll just copy that. Let's put that at an angle. Rotate that. Obviously it's not going to be completely straight, so you can just rotate these a little bit. Probably make it a little bit smaller. Space them out. Yeah, cool. And then once again we've got another little cloth or blanket. Adjusting that. Then bring it to the back, so it looks like it's on there. You can probably even make some pegs if you want. No, I'll probably leave that out. So cool, got that clothesline, we've got that our backdrop there. Clothesline, our fountain. You can see that I'm just turning it off, and you can see how it's all coming together. I'll make another layer, and we'll just make the sky, and we'll want to bring this all the way to the back. Actually, it's got to be above. Yeah, we can bring it all the way to the back. Turn that off, and make sure the other layers are locked so we don't work on that layer, and we're on the sky layer. And I'm just going to get the sun. And obviously the eyeball, we might have to make it smaller, but it's fine. I'm just going to drag this up. And I'm going to do the clouds. So using the pen tool. And with clouds, to make it look organic, you want to make it, just let your lines be, you know, smooth and curvy. Don't worry too much about it, but make it look rough. And then we can even just copy that. And what I like to do is go to my transform panel. You can go to window transform to open it up. And it's just down, mine's down the bottom here. I'll select the little drop down menu on the options, and I'll go to flip horizontal. So that just pretty much flips it around. So it doesn't, it's the same, but it looks different. Because the clouds, we don't want them to be too big because it's not the main thing, but play around. And for the birds, I'm just gonna quickly do that. Just bring that. That's what I'll do for the birds, just simple shapes. And awesome, there we have it. So we've got our basic foundational layers in grayscale. We've got all those elements, and what we're going to do is color it, add some detail, and make it look awesome. So there's two sites that I love using to find some color palettes. The first one is colors.co, and the other one is Color Hunt. So you can see they provide for you some awesome color palettes, bright. Some of them are subtle, some of them different and simple. But you can see it's got plenty of different color palettes, and they update it like every week, every month. So you can scroll through here and find some nice color palettes. And for this palette, I want to go for a sunset color. So I'm thinking of like reds, some oranges, maybe browns. And you can see we can go through here and find something you like. And then what I'll do is just screenshot it and then bring that into Illustrator and copy those colors. And I also love this one too. So this is colors.co. You can see in the filters, I typed in sunset because I want that vibe. You can see here we've got some colors that are looking alright, but I'm gonna go to the next window. So you can see you can go to explore, or you can go to generate, which will just generate colors. You can do it that way, but I like to filter it out and look for specific colors that I want. So I'll go through here, find a color palette that I like, and you can even adjust it. So we'll see what we can find here. So we've got some bright oranges, got some reds. Yeah, this one looks good. So what we can do, we can go put your mouse over it and press view, and it should load up another window where you can actually save it, or you can into different formats, or you can edit the colors themselves. So you can see here, you can click alternate shades, and you can see that you can select a different shade, which is pretty cool. Love that. You can see that. And you can drag it. You can also adjust it, as I said before, the brightness, saturation. So you can see that. And it even has different names for it, which is pretty cool. It's got the HSB, RGB, CMYK, and the sets there, which is pretty awesome. So I love this tool, it's pretty awesome. And then you can lock the colors that you want. You don't have to, but you can leave it like that. And then you can also go, the options up here, and you can also export or save it. So I can just export it, and what I can do is just do a PNG, and it should save it. Or another quick way is just screenshot it and then just drag it in if you're in a rush. But you can do that, and it's gonna do this, and you can just go copy image, right click copy, and I'm gonna paste that in, and there we have it. I'm probably gonna bring it to the top layer. And there we have it. We've got this palette, and you can even edit them in Illustrator, which we'll probably do. And what I'm going to do is start to build out this color palette. So what I'll do is press L for the ellipse tool, or it doesn't matter, you can use the rectangle tool as well. And I'm just going to copy this. To do that is pressing Command D or Control D. So if you drag and make a copy by holding Alt or Option, it's going to copy it, and then you just press Command D and it's going to duplicate it. So what I'll do, I'll select these, press the eyedropper, and select the colors, each color that I want. Just like that. Very simple. And then what I can do is actually select all these. And then I'm going to go to my swatches panel up the top right corner and press the folder. And once we have this, we can call this sunset. Whatever you want. And then we want to select this second option, and we want to convert it to process to global colors and include swatches for tints. That's fine. But the main one you want to tick is this button here. Press OK. And then that's a quick way. It just gave us our color palette in a folder. And you can see these white tabs at the corner of the swatch. That means it's a global color. That means no matter how many objects in everywhere in my artwork, whatever has that color, it's going to change it. So if I double click on this red, and I'm going to press preview, and if I start to edit these, you can see it edits all those objects. And that's why global colors is awesome, and it's going to improve your work. So we can delete these, and if we want to edit some of these colors, we can always just double click it and then go through and edit these, and then press OK, and it's going to make that change. Another cool trick is that if we click this color, and I'm going to go to my color guide, and you can see it's selected, and press this drop down menu and it'll give you all these harmony rules. So this is basic color theory. You got compound, you got monochromatic, complementary colors, and you've even got shades as well. So maybe I want some different shades. I can click that and it's going to give me all these options here, but I want this main line here. So what I can do is just press this button with the little plus, and it's got like 3 columns. Click that and boom, we just got those 4 colors added. And I can just delete this one because we have that there. But you can see obviously it's not a global color, so we can double click on it and click global if you want to change that to a global color. But you don't have to if you don't want to. It's just a good tip as a designer. So what we can do now is we can add some more colors for all these, or even play around with it. So I might make some adjustments. So we want some, actually I'm gonna go add these shades. I'll delete this orange here. So we got the browns, we got some more orangey browns, and then a reddy browns, and then this yellow. Make it more subtle. And then we'll add these shades in. Sweet. So we got all these colors here, and I'll just leave it. And what we're going to do is start to work on coloring our town and illustration now. So once you've got all your colors down and ready, what we can do is start to work on coloring our illustration. So I can turn off this sketch layer now because I don't need it. And you can see now we have just that white space, which is going to be our sky. And we've got all our layers here, so you can see if we turn that off, we've got all that. So the key is to just work on, each section by once at a time by itself. And I'm going to probably start with the buildings, and I'm going to start to work on it. So now we see I have all my grayscale colors. Now a quick way to quickly color all those areas, if I know exactly what color I'm going to use, I can just select this color. And what I'm going to do is go to the top corner and press select, same fill color. So what that does is going to select all the objects that have that same fill color. So you can see all these front of the houses have those colors. And now what I can do is actually select the color I want. So maybe I want it to be orange. It can be the dark colors. You can click and play around and see what it does. But we want it to be a bright color because this is where the light is hitting. So maybe we want to... We're going to keep it on that yellow. So boom. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these other layers. Do the same thing. Also keep in mind, if there's layers that are locked, it's not going to select all those other shapes with those same colors. That's why you want to make sure everything's on its own layer. And for this one, we're going to select the orange. And I'm going to make it dark. So we'll play around with that. That looks good. Bam, bam, bam. And we'll leave that on orange as well. So you can see here we might have to make some adjustments. You can see how the shadows here on the right side and this side, the sun's coming from here. So instead of this being a shadow, this is probably going to be light hitting it. But for this side, it will be a shadow. So keep that in mind. And we're probably going to have to, adjust it. But for now, we'll just make it this red. because it's going to be the light. And if some things didn't go right, then just go in and fix it. And these are in the background, so select all those. This is a path, but I don't want this to be a path anymore, so I'm going to select this, go to Object, Expand. Shortcut is Control or Command E. So do that, and then we have that. And then I'm going to select all these and go to my Pathfinder and just unite those. So now it's all one shape, as you can see there. And you can see that, just going to fix that. Yeah, cool. And I'll make that red. So it looks like these are in the background. We can probably just delete those as well. That orange. Awesome, so we have that done, and I'm gonna do the same for these. I'm just gonna round it off. Go to Object, Expand. Once again, go to my Pathfinder tool and unite. You can access the Pathfinder tool by going to Window and going there. I'll do the same for these. Because I don't want it to be strokes anymore. Just want it to be simple. Just one shape. And once again, we'll select this. Yeah, that red color. So it looks like it's behind that building. Or it's a bit further out. Cool, so we have those done. And now what we're going to do is we'll go to our fountain. Start to work on this. You can see for the color palette for this town, we're not going to be using, typical, colors that you'll see in the real world. It's more of a illustrative approach. And another cool trick as well, if you want to add some variety to these lines, we can use the width tool. So if I select these and press Shift W, you can actually go like that, or Control Z, or you can bring it in. So you can see it adds some variation in the lines, in the weight of the lines. So Shift W, it's called the width tool. It's on the left hand side there, you can see there. And it gives you that flexibility to add some weight, different variations to the lines. And I'll probably select these, go to Object, Expand Appearance, and then once again, I'm going to unite all those. Make sure everything's expanded. You can see this middle one's not expanded, so we'll go Object, Expand again, and then do it. So you can see that we've got the water there, and we're gonna make this light. Go to Color and just make it lighter. Now I'm probably going to add some shadows to this. So what I'll do is make a shape. I'm going to make it this. So I'm going to select these shapes here, select this, and press Shift M for the Shape Builder tool. As it sees, it's located on the left here in the middle section. And I'm going to hold Option or Alt and left click, and it's going to minus that shape off. And now we've got some shadows on this fountain there. So for later on, it's going to have that detail. You can also change, these colors if you want to make it lighter. You can see there. And then if we wanted to add some more details for the water, so I'm just making circles. Cool, got that. Close that, and we'll go to the clothesline now. Let's pick that lighter, that darker brown, orange. And this is wood. We can plus these together as well. Pathfinder, unite those and turn this stroke. So object expand. And we'll just make that light. Bring that, bring these wood in front. And I think we should make these smaller. Bigger than the buildings. So always remember scale as well. Put some more socks in there. Maybe they have a lot of kids. So it's slightly more realistic. Even though it doesn't have to be. Once again, I'll flip this. Cool, done with that. Now I'll go to the backdrop. And then I'm going to play around with this color. So what I want to do is I go to my color panel and select the drop down menu, the little 4 lines, and go to hue, HSB, which is hue, saturation, and brightness. And what I like to do is just put those a bit down. Select the same colors, and then just with the eyedropper and just bring that up. But you can see it changes the tone of the color a bit. So these are more orangey browns, that this is more too brown. So that's one thing you have to keep in mind. Sometimes you might just have to go to CMYK and you can add black from here as well. That's fine. You can even make these really light if you want to. The opacity. But we'll just leave that for now. And then we'll go for the sky. So you can see there's more space now for the sky, so we can actually just bring these up. We got the sun. The sun's going to be yellow. Alright, because our buildings are yellow here. I also have to go back here and just change the colors of this to suit that. And the clouds are going to be white pretty much. I'm going to add a background, so I'm going to press M and we'll just go make a background. See it playing around. So it's up to you. We can go for this style or depends. We can just go play with a lighter yellow. Cool. So drop down our main base colors. I'll probably Yeah, I like that look. So I've dropped down our basic, just simple colors, and actually we'll just make this white. So what we're going to do now is start to add some details, lighting, a bit of shading, and we're going to work our way through. So we'll start off with these, with our buildings first. And you can see here, just lock that one. We've got our main colors, and you know, sometimes I just use these main colors just to put that in place so I know where the shading is. So it's not exactly going to be the red, as I said before. And we're going to start to play around with this. So what I'm going to do, because the light is hitting this directly, I actually want to make this like a yellow. So what I can do is get the eyedropper tool, select the yellow of this color, and what I'm going to do is make a copy. So press Ctrl C if you're on a Mac command. So I want to press Ctrl C and Ctrl F. What this does is creates a copy directly on top of this shape. And what I can do now is go to my transparency panel. If you go to window and click transparency, it's going to help you out. And what I'm going to do is just go down, and you can see as you go down, you can start to see different looks of it. I usually prefer overlay or screen because I want it to be light. So you can see the screen there. So we'll do screen, and then drop the opacity to about 60%. And then what I'm going to do is do the same, but we're going to select all these colors here. Eyedropper the yellow, Ctrl C, Ctrl F once again, and then eyedropper this effect, and it's going to copy that same effect. So now you can see it's like the light is hitting these parts of the buildings. It's giving some effect. And what we can do now is add some shading to this part because it's more dark because it's facing the opposite direction. I'm also going to just like that. So what we can do, press M for the shape tool. It's probably good to note that I'm not using other layers. You can probably do this on other layers, but we're just going to use the same layer. So you can see that. I'm going to select the yellow again, and we're going to go to multiply or color burn. Those are usually the best two ones. And I'll drop the opacity. We'll do 60% again as well. And I'll just copy this across. And then make sure, you know, it's lining up. On there. And the reason why I'm copying it is because I want to keep the same thickness. So adding these extra details really makes a difference to the overall, you know, vector town or illustration that we're working on. Copy here. So always think how light operates. You know, where's the rim light, the bounce light? Is it reflective? Is it reflecting on a glass or something? Is it like just a concrete building? So you can see we're already starting to get those light. Another cool thing we can do as well is add some more light to the top. So I'm gonna, we can probably make this. Yeah, we'll just leave it like that. So now it's like it's hitting the left side and the top bit. Alright, so it starts to add a bit of dimension to the house to make it look more 3D instead of 2D. And there's nothing wrong with things looking 2D. Depends on what style of illustration you're going with. So slowly building all these elements like that, and it's already looking pretty cool. And if it's too much, you can always go back and once again select same, fill color, or that's probably going to be a bad idea. We'll go select same, and you can go appearance, and it's going to select all these ones with the same effect applied to it. So it's got screen 60% instead of selecting all these other shapes, because remember, this is still the same yellow color, it's just got an effect on it. So that's why you got to go select same and then go to appearance, or you can even click blending mode. So we'll go that, and you can even drop it lower, so 30%. You can see what it looks like there. So if it's too harsh, you can always make it less, but I kind of like it like that. And then I'm thinking of going a darker color for these, like that red. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go for this darker red. And oh, it's like a Blotter Range Actually. And you can see I'm even making some adjustments even now. And you can see adding the shadow here really makes it look like this building's in front of it and it's casting a shadow on this other building. As you can see there. Cool. So, yeah, I might get rid of the window there. Up the door. So the windows are looking 2D, so we're going to add some shadows to that. So what I'm going to do is go into isolation mode. So I'm going to double click this. I'm just going to quickly save this. Vector town. I'll just save it and tick that off. And I'm going to double click on this circle. So double click, and you can see that. I'm going to hold Alt and Option and drag this like this. So we've got two shapes, right? So what I'm going to do is select them both, use the Shape Builder tool again, and press minus. And I'm going to just select it again, and we're going to plus this shape and this shape. So now we've got two separate shapes. So what we can do is I can actually just copy this on top of each other. And once again, I'm going to multiply that, and we'll go 60%. Now, we probably didn't have to split these two shapes up, but press Escape. And you can see we've added that shading there. And what we can do is actually just duplicate these two shapes we just created. So if I just go group those, Control G, and I can actually go copy them and just scale them up. So we're saving time there. Bring it to the front, delete this. Instead of going to each one. So copy. You know, whatever process speeds it up. So it looks like it's like in a ring. So it looks like it's, you know, embossed in there. It's like a 3D. Just these little subtle things makes the big difference. And we'll copy them over to the other sides as well. But even with these doors, we'll do the same. But instead, we're just going to use shapes again. So we'll use the thickness of this, you know, so it's consistent. Right? I'm going to use the eyedropper, select that, and go multiply. And then we can maybe put 60 or even darker if you want. I'll copy this. And I'll drag that out. And keep in mind that, you see, if you drag this over, it's going to multiply on top. And that looks bad. You just want to make it like this. And then what we can do, we can actually go to Pathfinder and unite those, and it will make it one shape. So you can see you've got that one shape there, if you want that. So once again, I'll do the rest of the house, the doors. And I'm rotating it by just holding Shift. And if you go to the corner, you can see the little rotation point. And I'll just rotate it like that. And then I'll get the eyedropper tool, select those, and then plus it again. I'll just do this throughout all the buildings. So you can see if I go to outline mode now, you can see a lot more shapes coming out. But you can see the overall composition is, you know, simple and easy to create. And you can see here, you might have to adjust that. Press escape. Don't be afraid to go into isolation mode. Just always double click, so it pretty much blocks out everything, and just you can focus on this one shape and make sure it's all connected and, you know, in the place that you want it to be. You know, this process doesn't have to be long. And the more that you practice, it's gonna be quicker. Double click. And make sure you double click with the selection tool, not the direct selection tool. So that's the black one, or isolation mode won't work. So you can see that. Just quick tips are going to help you. Just blasting through this. You can see there's already a major difference from this to this side. Just by adding some simple lighting and some shading. We can even probably add gradients, but we're going to keep it like flat, hard shading. So with gradients, it's more of a softer feel. I think I'm going to actually change the color of these, because they're not the same color as the doors. Oh, that's fine. Actually, I'm going to leave it like that. And we'll do for the floor as well. I'm holding spacebar to, and then if you click with the hand, it's gonna move the screen. So maybe you want it on multiply. You can see if you want it more of a shadow, or you want the line there, so it's like the floor is up and it's hitting that. Just make that dark, or you can leave it yellow. So we've got that, and I'm just going to quickly do the other buildings as well. So I just finished adding some simple shading on the buildings, and I'm going to start to work on the fountain and the clothes and make some adjustments to the sky. So, you know, once again, close off that layer and just go to the other layer. So I'm going to plus all these shapes into one. So I'm going to unite that, select the yellow, and we'll go to multiply 60%. And then what we can do is create a copy of this, Ctrl C, Ctrl F, and we're going to flip it. And because it's the same shapes, it will directly go back online like that. And we'll change this, instead of multiply, we'll go to maybe screen or color dodge. Screen looks good. So you can see that you can take it off, it depends how you want it, but it adds some lighting and some shading there, which is kind of nice. And we might add a bit of multiply 60%. So sometimes it's good to experiment where you want to place the shadows. Doesn't have to be totally realistic. But you can see it's starting. Doesn't look that good with that. So I'll just delete that and I'll leave it like that. And with the color, we need to select the bright color. I'm just gonna go back here and put it back up. I guess we'll just leave it on the red. And I'm just gonna select all these bubbles or water splashes. And I'm gonna group these together by pressing Ctrl G. And just go back to the color there and bring the tint up. Maybe we should just make it white. Yeah, we'll leave it white. White always works. I'll add a few more. Just make it organic. So I'll just copy, move them around. You can probably even make this white if you want to. Yeah, I guess we'll just leave it white. And we're gonna actually add some more effects. So we'll just make a simple. So it looks like the water is flowing out. But we'll bring it to the back. Actually, what we're gonna have to do is we'll just create the stroke. Okay, we want it to come off, but don't cover too much of the building, of the brick. So just adjusting the handles there. So it looks like it's flowing. Copy that and scale that down. Scale it from the corner there. That's looking really cool. That's one of the bonuses of creating a modular type of thing. Cool, so it looks like there's water flowing out of it. Looks awesome. And we'll just make a copy. Boom. Awesome. So it's really standing out because that's the center of where the eye's gonna look. And we can even probably make some water look like it's flowing out this way. So we're gonna have to edit that. And you could always even drop the opacity if you wanted. So if you want, or even go to lighten, or maybe play around. Soft light. Drop the opacity maybe 60%, so it's see-through. So it makes the water look see-through if you want it like that, but I kind of like it like this because they're going for that hard shading. It's the type of look I'm going for. So we'll position this in the center. Make it wider. So you're just using simple shapes, squares. We'll just round it off. See what it looks when it's rounded. Yeah, we'll round it off because it doesn't completely go straight. So I'm selecting these top corners, but you don't want to do too much. If you round it too much, it takes it away off the... Cool. And you could even just do more like this. Make it that color. So it looks like there's breaking points, but it's gonna leave it like that. And we'll probably just add a little bit. Subtle shapes make it look realistic. There we go. So it looks like it's flowing. Awesome. So the fountain turned out really good. And you can see that it really adds a nice element to the piece. And work on the clothesline now. I don't know if I want these this same color. I'm gonna add some shadows to this. And we're gonna make this white. Just like we did that. White is really potent. So I'm just gonna play around. I wonder what's gonna look like with the multiply on it. Because I just want it to be a subtle touch. Yeah, we'll make it. We could always go and add some more shading like this. Get the shape builder tool and turn that off, and we'll go multiply. Can always do that to add some more detail, but I think we'll just leave it. I just want to drop the multiply. Actually, we'll just leave it. We'll leave it on 60%. So I'm just playing around, see what looks best. Cool. So we've got that, and we're going to work on the backdrop. Make sure you select the right layer, and everything's unlocked. So I'm kind of liking it like that because it has a nice contrast with this. Although I'm gonna play around with these. As you can see, that screen makes it look nice. Even color dodge is cool. Overlay, soft light, hard light. So you can see just by playing with blending modes, it really just changes the whole look of it. So this is nice because it's got a nice contrast between the yellow and the brown. And then this, I kind of like this because it still has that nice color palette. You can see I'm pressing Ctrl H to hide the edges so I can just get a really nice look. And it adds a nice effect. And then color dodge if that's like lower. It's too. I think I'll stick with overlay, but I'll make it. And I'll just go to these other shapes here and see what that looks like. So you can see that. Yeah, it's looking a bit muddy. So I'll Control Z that. So that's why it's good to test. You always want to test it. So I'll go back and I'm thinking of leaving this, but probably be better to do like this red. It's the brown. So we'll do this. Do the opposite. So there's contrast here, but we're gonna actually go hue saturation and make this darker. So we got 20. This. Make sure we select that red. So we'll go like 25. So it's like a subtle change. Eyedropper that in and subtle changes. And you can see it looks a lot more smooth, a lot more better because it's got a tint of that red now. And then I'll just go through and change these. But you can see here, these are all, actually it's all not. I can even probably make this slide. Yeah, I'm just gonna change this to overlay. I'm gonna delete that. Make it smaller. It's adding small details. So maybe it's like a broken can or something. The little details make a big difference. Shall we select that? Yeah, so it's darker here, so it looks a lot better. And then as it goes up the buildings, it gets lighter because the sun, obviously, as it goes up, it goes lighter. And then we'll work on the sky and just do some final touches. We'll make these white, and we'll probably do screen and just drop the opacity a little bit. See what that looks like. I think white looks a lot better. And we'll probably just couple clouds, and then I'll just go through, edit these a little bit. That slight adjustments makes a big difference. And I'll bring this out. Oh, actually, I'll just leave it there. Make a copy on top and see. No, it looks like. And I'm gonna play around with the background now and see what we can come up with. So it's good. Once again, I'm just testing these colors, these extra ones as well we got. Maybe we can even leave it black, white, and just make these yellow. See what that looks like. So if we delete these and then just make this yellow, you know what I mean? But then you can see it takes away from the fountain as well. So it'll probably be better to do the sky. Just make it maybe even. We'll even test it with the gradient, so just like this. So you can see there the whole idea of the sunset. Using the same colors. So you can flip that. Yeah, I kind of like this. From the sunset. Makes huge difference. I'm gonna copy a piece on top and then play around with the transparency, see what else it looks like. Yeah, it doesn't make much of a difference. So we might, it's got the darker red or the lighter. Just subtle, so it's still sticking to that sunset vibe. And yeah, there we have it. We've added some details on all our layers, as you can see. Boom, boom. So we started with our initial sketch, so we built that out. Create a little background, create a nice sky, and then added some finer details to those elements there. And then we could even go through and play around with it more, and even maybe making that ground darker if you want it like that. Yeah, cool. And there we have it. We've got our design, and hope you guys enjoyed the course. Don't forget to hit that like button or the love heart, and look forward to making some more courses. So if you enjoyed this video and want to learn more, I have online courses that can help you grow as a designer, whether you want to learn about freelancing, personal branding, how to create logos, or even about mindset and how to charge more with your client work. If you want to find out more, you can check out my courses at my website, jeremymura.com, or go on Skillshare and you can see some of my courses on there. Thanks so much for watching. Really appreciate it. I hope to see you in the next video.